Tuesday. It is Tuesday, September the 17th. It is the 262nd day of the year, and there are only 104 days left in the year 2024. And welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Tom. Well, in the month of September, we commemorate or celebrate several days. Of course, we commemorate September 11th, and then there's World Cleanup Day, there's World Suicide Prevention Day, and there's a day that probably means quite a bit to many of us, and that day is Grandparents' Day. Grandparents' Day can mean a lot whether we celebrate our own grandparents or whether we're grandparents ourselves. I never knew much about my grandparents. My dad's mother died before I was born. I barely knew my dad's dad. I did meet him, but he died when I was around 9 or so. My mom's dad died before I was in high school, but I did get to know my maternal grandmother, and she was wonderful, special. My two sisters and I loved to go over and stay with her. She spoiled us. But it's also nice being a grandparent. When you're the grandparent, the young people actually listen to what you have to say. They've brought into that thing that grandparents are all wise and knowing, and if only they knew. Our G-list guests today are Lacheryl Cillie and Dr. Tonea Stewart. Lacheryl Cillie is a thrift living expert who teaches savvy shopping tips to the masses. That should be fun. Those tips include teaching people to recognize things of value. So Lacheryl has been a featured guest on the Discovery Channel, WBRC Fox 6, WSFA 12. She currently hosts a monthly Thrifty Living segment on WSFA Channel 12 in Montgomery, Alabama. And actress and professor Dr. Tonea Stewart is with us. Dr. Stewart is a professional actress who many of you are going to recognize. Dr. Stewart played the recurring character Aunt Etta on the television series In the Heat of the Night. We got to work together. She's a lot of fun, and we're going to actually have her back on the show for her own segment. Dr. Stewart is appearing today with her friend Lacheryl, but she promised to come back as a guest when we can dedicate more time to her acting and teaching expertise. That's right, because she's also a professor. We look forward to those discussions. Our show today, of course, is sponsored by the Best Girl Consulting Firm. So let's hear from Best Girl.
Best Girl is a consulting firm that provides customized leadership, access and inclusion, public relations, communications, and organizational consulting services. Clients include Fortune 500 companies, utilities, higher education institutions, small businesses, and associations. Best Girl's team of consultants, led by Joyce Gilly-Gossam, Emily Hedrick, and Sean Jones, partners with business and education clients to promote organizational effectiveness, communication, motivation, and leadership, with always an impact on the bottom line. Best Girl's customized consulting services include strategic planning, corporate communication, executive coaching, fundraising, and economic development.
Best Girl customizes the solution that fits your needs. So let's go to our roundtable regulars, Barbara Wallace Edwards and Michael Walker. Good morning, Barbara Wallace Edwards. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Tom. I'm doing well. Thank you. And how are you this morning?
Doing great.
Good.
It rained a little bit this morning, but the sun's come out now. So hopefully it's going to be a great day. My week got started. I started off. I'll tell you guys about that offline.
Okay. I was going to say, I hope it's okay.
Anyway, what's happening in your world?
Well, Tom, first I want to acknowledge that we lost several people who are really important to the world. I think Tito Jackson passed away on yesterday, and Frankie Beverly passed away last week. And of course, you mentioned last week we lost James Earl Jones. So 3 really important people in the world today, in the entertainment world, passed away. So our condolences to their families and their fans. Just want to mention that. And I also want to say welcome to the world to our newest family member. We have a new family member, Mr. Mays Shiloh, was born in Atlanta, Georgia, to his parents, Jade and Anthony Johnson. That's a great nephew. So I want to say welcome to the world, Mays. look forward to meeting him next week.
Sounds good. All right, let's
Yes.
get Michael Walker on here. Good morning, Michael Walker. How are you?
Good morning, TG. I'm doing well. How are you today?
I'm doing great, man. What's happening in your world?
Well, I got a couple things. Good morning, Barbara, to you. Congratulations on the new addition to your family, and I
Thank
hope you're
you.
doing well too.
Thank you.
You know, it's interesting. They say that you can never fight City Hall, but there's always an opportunity to fight City Hall. A young lady in Atlanta, Georgia, by the name of Gail Mapp, she started having an issue with City Hall when she inherited a dilapidated ceramic shop in the city. So you think you inherit this building, you can turn it into something and grow your business. Well, when she first got the building, she got a water bill for $13.12 was what the bill was for. Well, the next month it jumped up to $16,000 the very next month. And it continued each month until the city said that she owed them $81,000 in water bills.
Wow.
Now, mind you, I said initially this was a dilapidated building, did I not?
Right.
Okay. Well, there's no plumbing in the building.
Well,
Okay.
Say, why wasn't the water turned
Yeah.
off? But go ahead. I'm sorry.
So she started talking to the city. The city had one of their people come out and, they install a new water meter. They checked and said there were no leaks on their side of it, on the city side of the property. She hired 3 different plumbers. How do you say it?
Plumbers.
Yes, to come out and look. They found no leaks. So now there's no leaks, there's no plumbing, but yet and still with this meter, she owes $81,000. They decided that they would credit her $5,000 on the bill, and she still owes $76,000.
No way.
Yes.
Where?
So
That's in Atlanta?
yes, it's in Atlanta. And so she's going to fight the rest of it in court. Here's a situation where you have an entity that has made a mistake and they refuse to correct it. And this is really so clear. Stevie Wonder can see this.
Yes.
If there's no plumbing, right?
Right.
Did they determine where the water was there actually a water leak?
No one's been able to find it.
Just told them it was a water leak, okay? But I mean, it should be strange that it jumps from $13 a month up to $16,000 and just continues to do so. And then even after their own city inspection comes in and say, well, there's no leak on the water side, she hired 3 different plumbers to come in, and then they say, hey, there's no leak here. And so then the fact that they're gonna credit her $5,000.
The whole thing.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's too much like right though. They got to go through put you through some red tape, I'm sure. That's crazy.
Yes. It's just unbelievable. And if it was $13 before she inherited, and then the first month, then they got to know there's a problem there somewhere.
Absolutely.
She didn't do anything because she hasn't even renovated the building.
Well, since you've kind of prompted me to talk about this. So yesterday, I go to the bank and to make a deposit on a refund we got because I changed the mortgage company, whatever.
Okay.
And the check was made to me and my wife. And we both signed it. And I asked the guy to deposit it. I didn't ask for any cash. I just asked for a deposit.
Right.
He wanted to know where my wife was. I said, she's at home. Is there a problem?
Right.
Well, did you sign her name? No, I didn't sign her name. She signed her name. And I've been coming over here for 5 years. And I've put a lot of money in this bank, so I don't understand what your issue is.
Right.
Then he called the manager. The manager came out. And you know what the manager said? You're not going to believe it. She said, well, this doesn't look like Joyce's signature. And
Are
I
you
and
serious?
I almost said, how in the F do you know what her signature looks like anyway? So
Right.
I got pissed off, I'll be
I'm
honest.
sure.
And it's only about less than 10 minutes from our house. So I
Right.
drove home, got Joyce, and we went back up there.
Right.
And the woman asked Joyce, she said, well, are you okay with this check? Joyce said, well, what's wrong with it? Well, see, you got your signature on here, and we didn't know if you had signed it or not. We've been coming here for 5 years.
Right.
And so you're accusing me of doing something that's illegal.
Forging her signature. Wow.
Right. Oh, no, I'm not accused. Yes, hell you are.
Yes.
So,
and you weren't trying to get money out of the bank. You're trying to make a deposit.
right.
Why would they question that?
It must have been a big check. Must have been $100,000.
It doesn't matter.
But
it doesn't matter. It
know?
doesn't matter. It was a joint account, I would think, right, Tom?
Yeah, it's my account. It wasn't
your
your
account. Okay.
Now, that was their issue.
Okay.
But I mean, we've done this
Before
100 times, man. And so anyway, long story short,
there's so many crazy stories out there. I've got one for you guys too. Yeah.
I have a new bank by Friday.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Well, just because we've done a lot of business with those people, and Michael knows, I'll refer to Michael because we worked at the same place.
Mm-hmm.
But when we worked at the phone factory at AT&T, Bell South, whichever one it was at the time, South Central Bay or whatever, you always took care of the customer.
Yes.
Your focus was the customer.
Yes.
How do you please the customer? Now, especially if you got a customer that's putting quite a bit of money in your bank, well, and you know them, and you know both of them. So right. Joyce went up there. Joyce was pissed off. And so it just going back to the $16,000. I mean, some things just don't make sense.
Right.
Yeah. And if they don't make sense, then you ought to fix them.
Right.
But what they do now in business is stick to their guns.
Yes.
So this is our policy. This is the way it happens. Well, your policy doesn't make sense.
Right. Tom, I have a story that's really crazy. I want to share with you all too. They say that you can't take money with you when you die, but there's a Texas apartment complex that says you better pay up before you die. It sent a bill to the family of one of his former tenants, charging her for breaking her lease when she died.
Wow.
The woman's children received the bill from the apartment complex for $15,000 and a collection notice, despite the Texas law that says family members can cancel a lease if a loved one passes away. Ms. Bonilla was 91 years old when she passed away in June. She was buried right next to her husband. She had been living at this apartment complex for more than 10 years. And at the time of her death, she had almost a year left on her 2-year lease. So they went to the apartment complex and, showed proof of death. And the apartment complex then sent the family a bill saying that she broke her lease. And they charged them over $15,000, which Texas law says you could, if someone dies, that's reason to end the lease. So again, another one of these crazy stories where it doesn't make any sense. The customer is right, but the company is saying, no, you still owe us.
Right no more.
Right.
That's just pure greed and insensitivity.
Absolutely. The family's going through enough already. They're grieving. And now you want to put label them with this. This is crazy.
Like this lady died on purpose so she could break her lease, right?
Absolutely.
She died so she could break her lease.
That's what they
That's their logic.
Right.
And when something, I don't know, it's just to me when something doesn't make sense. Michael, you're a business owner. I'm a business owner. Barbara, you've been working a big corporation for many, many years. When something doesn't make sense, you fix it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't keep arguing
Absolutely.
about it. You fix it.
And again, the old adage that the customer comes first, the customer's
Yeah.
right, give them the benefit of the doubt. That's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have three examples of that this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me go ahead.
Go ahead, Tom.
Okay. No, I was gonna change the subject, but you go ahead if you're on the count of the same thing.
No, I was going to change the subject too. A couple interesting things. So,
well, I just gonna tell you guys that this past weekend it was the 50th anniversary of Blazing Saddles. Did you guys ever see Blazing Saddles?
I did.
yeah.
We went to see it again this weekend.
Oh, wow.
It was just as funny as the first time. And there were quite a few people in the theater, because I guess they had promoted it some kind of way, but it's still hilarious, man.
Wow.
Just crazy fun. It was a lot of fun.
We need that sometimes.
Yeah, we do.
True.
Especially when you run into people like we've been talking about. Go ahead, Mike.
What I was going to talk about is the gift that keeps on giving. None other than the former president, Donald J. Trump. Recently, he and his running mate has been hammering immigration, and they have been hurling insults to the city of Springfield, Ohio, because of the Haitian immigration population there. Now, people within the city have said that the Haitians' immigration have actually uplifted the city, because the city was basically dying out and people weren't, a lot of the jobs that were available, nobody would take those jobs and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow, a story got fabricated about the immigrants, the Haitian immigrants are eating cats and eating dogs. Trump said that on his on his debate.
Yes.
J.D. Vance admitted that he fabricated that part to drive home a subject, or how important immigration is. Well, as you know, somebody tried or attempted to assassinate the former president over the weekend on a golf course, and it was thwarted by the Secret Service. Well, lo and behold, the U.S. attorney that will be handling Trump's would-be assassin case is a Haitian immigrant.
That's funny.
Karma. Karma.
I knew you guys would get that punchline once I set the story up. I had to set y'all up for that.
Yes, you did.
We can't believe that though. And this Haitian immigrant, he came to the States when he was 16 with his mother, and he worked in a restaurant, busing table, and as a cab driver to send himself through school. Okay, went on to law school, and he was appointed by Biden in September 22 to be an attorney general. And by the way, he was highly recommended by none other than Marco Rubio, the Republican senator from Florida, highly recommended him to Biden to appoint in this position. Now, just imagine that. You get a Republican senator, a Haitian immigrant who, as they say, lifted himself up by the bootstrap, became an attorney, got appointed by a Democratic president, but was recommended by a Republican senator. And you got Donald J. Trump.
I'm convinced that they're just trying to do anything that can cause division between groups of people. That's their MO. And I don't know how people cannot see that. How can people support them when they know that that's what they're trying to do?
You don't want to see it. I don't know if you guys saw, back to Michael's story, on Facebook, they had at least 10 different video vignettes of Trump's voice talking about they eating cats and dogs, and they had these cats and dogs on there, and these dogs would hear about the eating dogs, and they would run and hide. And this cat was sitting there, and this cat just starts growling, and Trump's on the TV talking about it. They're eating cats, and the cat jumps up on the TV trying to get to it. was hilarious, man.
It is, yeah, you have to laugh.
You have to laugh because it's,
But they're so dead set, talking about it. Immigrants. These people are there legally. They're not illegal immigrants. They were invited to come there. Like Michael said, the city was suffering. There was, housing was, couldn't be sold. They needed people there to work. So they were invited to come there. The local residents don't seem to have a problem with them, but it's just
Barbara,
something.
the problem with your argument, Barbara, is you talking about the truth.
Yes.
You're talking about facts and the truth, and that doesn't count.
And the really strange thing, both of those gentlemen are married to people who are either immigrants or their family members were immigrants that came over from somewhere else. So they're speaking against their own family members, really, when you think about it.
But as we've said before, it's political theater, man.
Yes.
Yeah. And I just want to say this from a standpoint that, last week on the show, we talked about Tyreek Hill and the situation with the police. And we were all pretty much in agreement that even though we weren't there, that we felt like it was an overreach by the police, And I know Tyreek came out and said that he probably didn't help things because he let his window up. Okay. And I can see that maybe the police took that as a sign of disrespect, but I recall, Tommy, you and I talked about this. I recall when I was much younger and I got stopped by the police, my grandfather always said, have your license registration ready for him when he walk up to the window. He didn't have to ask for it. And I recall specifically one time getting stopped in Tuscaloosa. I let my window down by this much. And when the cop came up, my hand was out with the license and registration. But I turned my interior light on so he couldn't say he couldn't see what was going on. Mm-hmm. Perhaps Tyreek Hill had never been taught those lessons. However, we felt like this cop was excessive. Come to find out that this police officer has been suspended for 10 days on multiple occasions between the years of 2014 and 2016. Each were for at least 5 days. Now, the details of the suspensions were not listed, but some employee report contains 4 alleging use of force filed against Torres between 2004 and 2018. The complaints involved improper procedure, improper use of body camera, discourtesy, conduct unbecoming a police officer, pushing, pulling, striking, and hitting. Okay? They didn't talk about, and, there were some cuts and scrapes and bruises, but they didn't go into detail. So now, as we talked about this last week, a lot of people probably felt like we were jumping to conclusions. But when you saw the video cam, you could see that that was excessive. Yes. And now it comes out that he has all these incidences. Now, my question is if you have a person with a history like this, why are they still on the force?
Absolutely. That was going to be my question.
Why are they interacting with the public?
Right.
Let me ask one question. Did Tyreek have smoked out windows?
They were tinted. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with about the cop and all that. But, you can lose your life dealing with somebody like that. And so let the window down, man. Shit. You right, but you don't want to be dead right. So I don't know. I know my dad gave me that lesson a long time ago, when I first started driving.
And but that was years ago, Tommy. You would think in this day and age we wouldn't have to give that lesson to our, but we do, because things really haven't changed that much.
No, you're trying to say you think society has evolved, Barbara? Is that what you're trying to insinuate?
It should have evolved. It should have evolved, is what I'm saying. Yes, but that's not the case for everyone.
Well, no, it's not. It's interesting. I mentioned that I was in Minnesota weekend and we were talking about the Second Amendment rights and carrying guns and stuff, and how these certain people get stopped at the airport with guns and all this type of stuff. And I don't know, something happened. This guy made a comment about him having a gun, and and he just got off with a warning or something like that. I don't know. And I said, well, that's the very reason why I don't carry a gun, because the Second Amendment does not apply to me.
Right.
I don't have a right to carry the gun.
Right.
I said, they taught that. I say, but in practice, in theory, they say that, but in practice, I don't have a right to carry a gun, because I'm 6'1", 225 pounds with a gun. I'm a threat.
You're a threat.
Whether I have a license
exactly.
or not. So that's why I don't even carry one, And it's not that I couldn't get a license, but I know I'll be in a place where I just happen to have it, and then all of a sudden I'm the villain and I'm the threat.
Yes.
So, and I said that to them because I'm sure you figured out it was in a mixed audience, but I wanted them to understand that there are two different societies.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you're in the favored society, don't think that your rights extend to everybody else. And people that are in that position, they have no idea what someone like myself has to go through just to exist every day.
That's what you call privilege, Michael.
Oh, is that what that means?
That's what that means, yes.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't think it was such a thing as privilege.
We know that there is.
Okay.
All right. Anything else? All right. Well, let's go to Sean. She's got a minute. Sean, you with us?
Good morning to everyone joining in with us. My name is Tonea Jones, and this has Got a Minute. I can't believe we're almost 10 months into 2024, and being born in the 80s feels like I can really look back and see how things have changed and how far we've come with technology, fashion, and equality. Did you know that in the late 19th century, New Zealand was the first self-governing country to grant all women the right to vote? Now, I'm sure you're wondering, how did New Zealand win the fight that granted all women, including the indigenous Maori women, with the ability to vote decades before other centuries? Well, it was won through a curious combination of persistence, a strong relationship with the temperance movement, and a certain degree of luck. Another major influence on political thought of the time were the widely read works of the English philosopher John Stuart Mill, an advocate for rights for women. Canada followed in granting women the right to vote in 1917, the United Kingdom in 1918, and the United States in 1920. By contrast, Switzerland didn't grant women full writing votes until 1971, and Portugal in 1976. Now, before I go, I have a quote for you. Women belong in all places where decisions are being made. It shouldn't be that women are the exception. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, U.S. Supreme Court Justice. Thank you all for joining in. My name is Tonea Jones, and this has Got a Minute.
All righty. So let's go to the G list. Hollywood has the A list, and here on Tuesdays with Tom, we have the G list. Now, G list guests today are Lacheryl Cillie. Lacheryl is a thrifty style living expert who teaches savvy shopping tips to the masses. And I've given you some of it, but she has been a featured guest on the Discovery Channel, on Fox 6 in Birmingham, WSFA in Montgomery, Alabama. She has been featured in a host of national magazines, newspapers such as Chicago Tribune, Post Herald. So we're going to move to Lacheryl, but also she's joined by Dr. Tonea Stewart. Dr. Stewart is a professional actress who I was lucky enough to work with on In the Heat of the Night. She was the first African-American female to receive a doctorate from the FSU School of Theater and the first McKnight Doctoral Fellow in Theater Arts. During her study at FSU, Tonea also received a fellowship from the National Endowment of Humanity. Let's welcome these two ladies to the show. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
How are we doing?
Doing good.
Okay, good.
Enjoying the show. You all are doing some wonderful work there.
Yes, it was amazing.
I want to hear about thrifty living?
Thrift style living.
Okay, tell us about it. Tell us the
Well,
philosophy behind it, and we'll go from there.
hey, yeah, thrift style living is something I dreamed of in 2011. And I had been going to estate sales, been going to thrift stores, and I knew a lot of people didn't realize the things that you could find in thrift stores and in estate sales. And I myself didn't thrift at all to begin with. In fact, I fought it forever. But once I got in there and got some great stuff, well, you know, the rest is history. And so I decided I wanted to teach and help other people to go in those stores and leave the junk, because there's junk in those stores as well, but to be able to go in and get the best stuff and to recognize things of value.
Okay, Barbara, you got some questions for the ladies?
I do. I want to start with Lacheryl. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. And I had an opportunity to attend one of Lacheryl's classes, and it was truly informative, and I enjoyed it so very much. And I caught the thrift bug years and years ago because just on a fluke, I happened to be waiting on someone who had an appointment. There was a thrift store right next door. So to waste time, I thought I would just go in there and, waste some time. I had no intentions of buying anything, thinking it was full of junk. And immediately found a designer purse, $99, that I went back and looked at, and it was online for $1,700. So
wow.
I was at that point hooked. So Lacheryl, what was the thing that caught your attention initially? What made you go to a thrift store the very first time?
Well, actually, what happened to me was I was dating my husband when I was in college at Tuskegee, and we were going to be going to like a party, and he needed an outfit, and he said, I want to go get an outfit. I said, okay, what mall you want to go to? He said, the mall. I'm not going to the mall. I said, you're going out with me. You're not going to the mall to shop. Where you going? So anyway, he went to the thrift store, got a great outfit. And I kind of went in a little bit, but I used to sit in the car and pout. I'm just going to be honest. And then something said, well, Lacheryl, go in there to tell him to come out, because he was standing there too long. And once I went in there, I was like, wow, okay. So I started finding great stuff. And then I started going to estate sales, and I find great stuff there. And pretty much for about the last 30 years, that's been primarily the way that I shop. Is thrift stores and estate sales, and sometimes auctions.
Okay. So you have some stuff there that you wanted to show us?
Oh, yes, I do. I was in Birmingham. I'm always excited to show things. I was in Birmingham the other day, last week. I had some work to do up there. And I went by the thrift store once I finished working. And I actually found these Golden Goose tennis shoes. Now, these... I can't say enough about them, but I got them for $75. And if you look at the back of them, they really look, pretty new. And I really think they are brand new. But anyway, to tell you the story about them, they were $75 there, but they run anywhere from about $500-$600 to well over $1,000-$1,100. And they're made over in Italy. And what's funny about it is Dr. Stewart and I was recently at a film festival with her, and she and I decided we want to go thrifting because we love thrifting. We love thrifting together. We do. She's amazing thrifting. We love it. So anyway, we went to a consignment store, and there was a pair of these, and they were $300 used. So when I saw these in that case, I guarded the case so that nobody could get ahead of me looking at them. Yes. And so anyway, they happened to be my size. And I told the lady when she checked me out, I said, well, now, look, I am not buying these for anybody else. I'm going to, with my 62-year-old self, wear these boogers, and I'm going to do a good job. They're going to be cool when I style them. I wish you could see that. So that's one thing. The other thing, not only do I pretty much look for everything when I'm thrifting, but jewelry is a big thing with me too. And I've got a Tiffany of New York sterling silver bracelet here. And, I teach people how to recognize sterling silver, how to recognize gold, because sometimes you go in those stores, you find these kinds of things, and you have no idea that's what you're looking for. That's one thing I do. The other thing is I even look for household things. Like this is just a small example of a hand-knitted 100% wool rug, handmade rug. These are very valuable, and I teach people how to discern between these and maybe the machine-made or rugs made out of artificial things and synthetic fibers. So one thing you can do is you can always look at the back of it. And if the pattern looks as clear as it does on the front where you really can't tell the difference, then you know you've got something that's hand knotted, handmade, and usually 100% wool or wool and silk. And these rugs can, get really go up in value. And I've been able to find some of these at the thrift stores too over the years, where people didn't realize, the people that were pricing, they had no idea what the value of these rugs were. They can be several hundred to several $1,000s, depending on what country, the designs, how tightly woven they are, all of that, or tightly knotted they are. All of that can determine the value there. The other thing, I promise I'm going to stop, but I just get excited, is you've probably heard of the Birkin bags, these really expensive purses that are made by Hermes, right? So I always wanted an Hermes scarf, but I thought, well, I'm not going to pay the $5,000, $6,000, $12,000, whatever, $100 for it. So I was able to find one in the thrift store in Birmingham. This one I found at a thrift store in Birmingham. This was $1.99. And I leave the tags on it because I think sometimes people don't believe. But I was able to find this scarf. And recently I was at an estate sale of a very wealthy lady and found another Hermes. And this one I actually paid a lot. I paid $40 for them. Usually I don't pay that much for them. But it was the first one was $1.99. And as you know, in the news, we hear about the ladies that have these $30,000 pocketbooks. Same company, Hermes. So these are the kinds of things that you can find in those stores. You just have to put your, be able to recognize and know how to discern. And that's what I teach people how to do.
I think people have a different perception of thrift stores. And you're enlightening me right now on just the stuff that you're showing. And I don't know. I guess people think that the stuff was cheap and it wasn't good material or what have you, but
absolutely not.
Obviously, that's not the case.
That's not the case. And I always tell people, would you like to own the Mona Lisa, which is used and the old, or do you want something that I can go buy from the store? I want the Mona Lisa. So, so I'm saying I had that same idea when I really thought the same thing. I thought, that was for people that didn't necessarily want to go in the regular stores and shop for whatever reasons. But anything that a person has owned, all kinds of things. The Goodwill in Birmingham ended up with a $15,000 wedding dress in that Goodwill that they sold for $6.99.
Wow.
Anything, people donate everything. They have a closet full of clothes that have tags on them that they've not worn. The big box stores donate for taxes. So things end up that way. And then you just have people that don't know what their, say, grandmother or somebody had, and they donate those things. And if they don't know what sterling silver is or gold is and how to tell, particularly if you've got the numbers from other countries, because other countries use other numbers on their gold, well, then you won't know that won't know you're giving something away that's very valuable. So most people just don't realize it. And those things end up in the stores. Or if I'm in a hurry, I got to move, I don't want to bother with selling it, let me just donate it. So there are a lot of reasons why lots of stuff end up in those stores. And it's wonderful stuff. Men's stuff, Gucci ties, Ferragamo shoes, all kinds of wonderful stuff for men as well. Gucci, lots of stuff. Chanel, I've got some Chanel pieces. Same thing.
That's great. Michael, Barbara, you guys got questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead, Barbara.
Go ahead, Michael. No, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I had a question for both of you guys. I know about the thrifting and what have you, and you've done a great job of explaining. What about consignment shops? Are they considered the same type of thing? I know somebody that she buys a lot of clothes, a lot of shoes, and then she'll go and take them to the consignment shop, and then they'll sell them, and she gets a little bit of money back for them and stuff. Do you kind of do consignment shops as well, or how do they enter into this?
Well, I think consignment shops are good too. The only thing is, generally, the way that it goes so far is the best price is going to be if when you can get it from maybe the thrift store, or you get it from the estate sale, ground zero, garage sale. But when it changes hands, sometimes the prices go up. But the wonderful thing about consignment stores is that it gives us an opportunity to live more green and to kind of recycle those things through there, and you're still getting a better price. So in fact, I bought a dress when Dr. Stewart and I were in Jackson, Mississippi, that was in a consignment store. So, you know, they're great. They're great places also. I like them. What do you think about that, Dr. Stewart?
Well, yeah, I agree. Actually, as a child, my sister and I, my mother would send us to Chicago with our aunts to visit for the summer and to keep us out of trouble and in a safer environment, they thought. But at the end of the summer, when it was time to return to school, they always had to buy a trunk, one for me, one for my sister, because we would go to every Salvation Army, every Goodwill, every consignment shop. Our aunts were real brilliant at this. Their homes were beautiful, and they always bragged about the French cut couch and chair and tables, the china that they had, and none of it came at the regular price. It was from a thrift store, or from the Salvation Army, or from Goodwill. And when we brought that trunk home, we were well dressed for the entire year, and I bet you $75 is at most they had paid for my trunk, and $75 for my sister, because they didn't have a lot of money, but we had a trunk full of clothing. So as adults, every Saturday when we lived in Mississippi, in Jackson, with a girlfriend of ours, we would go thrifting, but we call it garage selling. We would go to garage sales, we go to thrift shops, we go to Goodwill, we go to Salvation Army, wherever there was a bargain and you could get quality. I love it. Then I learned as a director, directing productions in college, if I needed costumes, wardrobe pieces, props, I knew where I could find them. Right at the Goodwill, right at the Salvation Army, right at the thrift store, right at the garage sale. I started collecting, made a storage house at home. I had props for movies when they came to the state. I had costumes, wardrobe, and even here in Montgomery, the very same thing. So yes, this has been a wonderful experience. And then getting to know Lacheryl and going with her, I learned that the things that I got were things that I thought were cute. I didn't understand to look for the value. I didn't know to go for the name brands. She was calling name brands. I said, what is that? And she said, this is valuable. And she had a bracelet. Tell them about that bracelet, Lacheryl.
Well, the Tiffany bracelet is one bracelet that I had. I've got, let me see, just the, which particular store we were talking about?
I think we went to the Salvation Army and they had a plastic.
Oh, absolutely. It's called Bakelite. It's what it is. You're absolutely right. And it's actually very, very popular. And I've actually got it right here near me. And it is right here. You're right.
That's it.
It's plastic. Bakelite was really popular, like the 40s, the 50s. You see Bakelite radios, all of that. Well, now the bracelets and the jewelry, very, very valuable. And I paid $1 for this. And I said, Dr. Stewart, look at this right here. I said, see, it's $1. I said, I'm gonna tell you what it is later on. I said, but we don't want them to know.
Yeah, because I saw the bracelet. I picked it up. I said, that's cute. And then I went on, and she came behind me and she said, give me that.
Bakelite.
And she picked it up. This is a Bakelite. I said, what? It's amazing. We take thrift tours with Lacheryl. A busload of not just women, men of all races.
That's
a
right.
busload. We went from one Goodwill to the other. We went from Montgomery to Birmingham. We've gone to Auburn. We've gone to Troy. Some of everywhere. And it's a lot of fun.
It is.
You want to get your mind off of something and save? Go thrifting.
Yes. Absolutely. Just give us one time, a trip with us, and you'll see.
Yes. It'll change your life. It will change your life.
It will change your life.
So, Barbara, have you been on one of these trips?
I have not been on one of her tours yet. I haven't had the opportunity to go on one of her tours, but I'm a thrifter now myself. So whenever I go to a city, I don't care where it is, the first thing I do is find out where the thrift stores are. Most people want to go where the malls are. No, you can save all of that. When I go to a mall, I'm looking to see style with the name brand items, what the value of it is, and then I go look for it at a thrift store, because 9
That's
times out of
right.
10 it's in a thrift store somewhere. Someone's bought it already, didn't like it, didn't fit right, or they bought the wrong size. They don't, it's after return date, so they can't return it to the store. They'll donate it. So it's in a thrift store. And I've bought all kinds of things, from furs to designer shoes, designer purses, designer clothing. And I'm an Auburn fan. I buy most of my Auburn t-shirts with unusual items that people say, where did you find it? How did I found them at thrift stores and consignment shops. So it is unbelievable what you can find there. I was in one last week. There was a men's Brooks Brothers suit with tags on it, that this particular store, they have a color of the week, and that color, if that tag is that color, is 99 cents Monday through Thursday. On Fridays, it's 2 for 99. Friday and Saturday is 2 for 99 cents. This particular Brooks Brothers suit was 50 cents at the store. New with a tag on it. I didn't know anybody with that size, and I started to buy it anyway, just to, try to sell it to. I thought, I got. If you saw my closets now, you say, please don't bring another thing in here.
Me too.
But I was tempted to buy it. And I even went to another young man that was walking through the store. I said, hey, do you need a suit? You try this on, look. And he tried it on. He said, it fits pretty good. I think I could have it altered and it would fit. I said, buy it for 50 cents. You can pay for the alterations. And he was like, I never even looked at suits. He came in there. He said he'd come in to look for tools and, things like that. But he never thought to look at clothing. And he told me,
what size was the suit?
I don't remember, Michael. I think it was a 40 regular. I think it was
Okay.
a 40
Well, next time I wear 48 long.
40. I got you.
Cut.
I got you.
When we were in Jackson,
you'd be amazed what you can find. Yes, go ahead, Dr. Stewart.
when we were in Jackson, young man that was one of my former students and neighbor was at the workshop that I presented at the film festival. And after the session, he came up to me and he said, this was really great. I said, yeah, but we want to find a thrift store. He said, oh, you need to come with me. That's what I do. I was shocked. He knew every thrift store. When he walked in the door, the people greeted him. They knew him. And we were just amazed. We went to 7 different stores at one afternoon.
Wow.
And they were really high class goods in there. Lacheryl brought a shirt that I really got angry with her because she saw it first. That was the prettiest blouse, and it looked so good on her. She tried it on in the store, and I said, Lacheryl, you're not going to get that, are you? She said, oh, yes, I am. I saw that it looked so nice. I wanted it so bad. It looked so good on her. And then you talked about Grandparents' Day. My sister and I took my grandson with us. He was 14 at the time, to the thrift store. He was so bored. I don't want to go in here. Well, take me home. No, just wait for us just a minute. We found a pair of pants, some jeans that he had been talking about. He said, where'd you get that from? And we said, right over here. He said, wait a minute. He went over there. In a few minutes, we looked around. He had gotten a basket. A few more minutes, the basket was filled. I said, man, what are you doing with all of this stuff? He said, Granny, please give me just a minute. I want to go back. I saw a shirt I think is my size. I said, no. We had to buy a basket full of things for him. And he now asks, when are we going back? He was 14.
I have a question for you guys, and excuse my naivety on this because I'm not real familiar with this. How do you know how much money to take? Is it cash only, or do they take credit cards?
Credit card.
Oh,
no
they
check.
take everything.
No check. Everything.
Bank card, credit card, cash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no
right.
checks.
No checks. Okay.
No checks. Some of them used to take checks, but now no checks.
No checks.
Okay.
No.
No checks.
Most people don't
Everything
use
but
checks
checks.
anymore anyway. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Plastic
Okay.
and cash.
So, Michael, when you're making your trip now, you start deciding you'll find a thrift store.
yes.
You will be surprised. You will be
really
amazed.
would. I mean, and
You
the
will.
thing to do is to look in areas where, the high-end areas, like, Buckhead in Atlanta. There's
Yeah.
thrift stores in that area. I would go there because the people that live in that area, most of the things that they're donating ending up at
To that
the
thrift store,
stores in
that's
that
true.
particular area. So, you learn to find out to look at stores in certain areas, and normally that's where you can find the better deals. But there's some almost everywhere you go.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
can't find it everywhere you go. You really can. I agree with that. Also, you can do things for women. We can go to look at the men's shirts now too. And this was a trick that a friend of mine taught me. She actually does that. So she'll get a really like a nice tuxedo shirt, and she may get somebody to kind of maybe tape the lines in for her or something like that. But it looks fabulous with the military jacket, and the pants and stuff. It really, really does. So just kind of think outside of the box. Would be my advice when you're thrifting or when you're going to estate sales and stuff. And here's an example of a purse that I bought at an estate sale. Is that not cool?
I want that. I need that in my life. That's a tiger head.
It is a tiger. It was at there, and then I've got a purse that Dr. Stewart and I talked about last night on our call.
Yeah.
That I actually found in Florida, and this is a Chloe bag.
That's my bag. That's my bag.
What's the retail value of that, Cheryl?
Oh, Chloe.
Cheryl.
Oh my goodness, Chloe. 2,500, 3,500.
Right.
Yeah, Chloe's really up there. But it's the price tag's on here, $15.99, Goodwill.
Wow.
So this is one that they miss, and I'm careful when we find something. I don't tell them, because if you do, well, then the prices can change
Right.
some. They might have it behind the counter for $100. Will still be worth $100, but
right.
So that's one thing to think about when you're shopping and stuff. And the other thing that I do, and I want to tell you to be careful about doing it, when I'm in a store and somebody's rolling out new stuff or they've got a card or something, I follow them.
Follow them.
I follow them to where
You have to
they're
learn all
going and to find whatever it is. And this is a purse that we were able to find in Brooklyn, in Goodwill in Brooklyn, and it's a Portland leather, which is a company in not Alabama, in
That's
the country that
beautiful.
it is really nice, makes really nice handmade leather things. And it was $9.99. We were just surprised. But what happened when the lady was rolling out, when she roll out of the little thing with all the stuff, I rolled right back with her. I just kept going right behind her to where she put it down. So sometimes you have to do that. You have to be careful and do that. And I don't knock them down or push or anything like that. But I will do that. I'll follow them. I'll just be it's cool and just follow them, not saying anything. And then they'll, hand it to me.
Right.
Well, let me ask you this question. Is it the people that work at the thrift stores setting the prices? Are
That
they
is who's
just
setting the price? Yes. But let me tell you what is really, I guess, whatever about that is, years ago, they were not paying a whole lot of attention to names, and they weren't looking up. Now you've got something called Google Lens, and I don't know whether you've used Google Lens before, but they can actually take a picture of that item on the phone, and they can go to websites, and it will tell them the value and the names of this particular. So now they're a lot more educated, but they still miss stuff. They still miss things, but they're a lot more savvy. And for one thing, thrifting is very, very popular. It's popular among college kids.
Oh, we lost her.
Not sure what happened. Yes.
Mhm.
But yeah, she was talking about, oh, there she comes. Okay.
Yes. So, you can, you can find great stuff still in their pricing, but they still don't know that everything. Like I was able to, on our tour, able to get some glass, something to hold your eyeglasses, Burberry, 59 cents a piece. 2 of them, 59 cents, Burberry cases. So they still miss stuff. They do. And you can tell the things that they kind of know because the prices are up a little bit, but their still prices are better than going to the big box and paying those prices. You still get much, much better prices. And on the wedding dress that was $15,000, they just didn't bother to look at the designer.
Right.
That's what happened with that dress.
Well, I have one other question for you guys. And I'm always thinking from a business perspective. Is there a directory of thrift stores anywhere? Like, for instance, if I'm going to a town and like Barbara says, she always go to the thrift stores. I'm wondering if there's a directory anywhere of thrift stores that I could go to and look and say, oh, okay, I'm gonna go there and what have you. Do you know one?
I don't know if
Well,
there's go ahead, Lacheryl.
go ahead. Well, I know that in when I go to Florida, when I'm in Florida, if I go to the Goodwill, then they've got something that have all of the Goodwills in that vicinity of Destin and the surrounding areas. You know, maybe I think it's one in Pensacola, if I'm not mistaken, maybe Panama City. So they'll have a card there or a flyer that's got a list of that. When I'm in New York City, Housing Works does the same thing. I know about all of the thrift stores in New York City when I go there. The other thing is that you simply can do a Google search.
Yes.
So I don't know that there's a formal one that's for every single state, but you can. And I do research before I go to find out where I'm going, because I'm going to thrift. Because I'm like, Barbara, I'm going to thrift. Now, if you don't like to thrift, you need to just go on somewhere else. Leave me alone.
My friends know.
Leave me alone.
Yes.
Oh, it's great. Great. Okay, we got a few more minutes, and I'd like to just touch on this because we've got a lot of people in our chat who are in the heat of the night fans, Tonea and Dr. Stewart, and they have all wanted to say hello to you and talking about Anetta and what you meant to the show and so on and so forth. And so I'm just going to ask you one question about this, because you're going to come back and do a show with us. But talk about Carroll O'Connor. People always ask me about Carroll. Was he a nice man, so on and so forth. I watched Carroll one night come out. It'd been one of those 14-hour days. You know how long those days were. And you had brought a bunch of students over, because your students could come and be extras. And they were getting on that bus, and it was after Carroll had his heart issues, and he was real slow and weak, and one of your students ran off and asked him if he would take a picture with him, and his assistant Claire said, well, he's really tired, and Carroll said, no, let me do this, and that man took a picture with every one of those students.
He sure did.
And he sat there and he talked to every one of them. And I was so impressed with it.
I was too. Carroll O'Connor was a dynamic person, a loving person, a giving person. And he did tell those students that day on the bus that he played Archie Bunker to be able to afford an opportunity like producing In the Heat of the Night. And he also said to them, at this time, there is no other television show in the industry employing as many African Americans as we have on In the Heat of the Night. And Carroll O'Connor was a wonderful person. He always would come in the makeup trailer and give me a smack kiss right on the lips. And he said, that's my girl. He made me feel very special. And I know that you were very close and special to him as well. As a matter of fact, he had a way of making all of us feel that way.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the day he called me into his office with Ed Letting to ask me how would I feel about coming full time In the Heat of the Night and stop teaching. And I said, ooh, wait a minute. He said, no, we can work. I said, Carrie. Let's if your school will work with us. And the school did. Okay. Our schedule was that on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, as much as possible, I would remain in Montgomery at the university and teach and direct or whatever I was doing. And I became the dean, of the College of Visual and Performing Arts. And that's a very special thing in higher education, and of another school, even to this day, that has all areas under one college in the performing arts fully accredited. But Carroll encouraged me, and when I had a conflict, I said, "Oh, Carroll, can I do that one on Monday?" And he said, "We need you here." I said, "Okay, I'll be there." And he would fly me in, or I would drive in, whatever it took. He made me feel, as one of those cast members, very special and very much appreciated. Yeah. When we ended the show, I remember ask all of us, what is it that you want show. I wanted two things. I wanted my wig locked to get my hair in the right, to be of the right texture and all. And he brought on Stefan Demings, and Stefan ordered a natural looking wig for Aunt Etta that didn't cut a lot of paint and stuff in it. It was just natural, kinky gray hair mixed in with black hair. I love that wig. And I wanted the song In the Heat of the Night. You know, I didn't know that was not a full song.
Yeah.
But that's what he gave me, those two things. So he gave my students a lot of opportunities. One of my students, he said, he was from California. He's from not Los Angeles, just outside San Diego. He was from San Diego, California. And I remember him saying, I had to come to Alabama to make it in Hollywood. I'll never forget my young man who said, yeah, he got to have a special role on In the Heat of the Night, playing a young man that helped to solve a case. His name was Charles Patman. And he was born and raised in San Diego. Yeah. And he said, I had to come to Alabama to make it in Hollywood. So,
Girl was great.
And Carol O'Connor made him feel very special.
When I first got on there, man, he'd fly me out with the second year, first year, they shot part of it in California. And he would fly me to California, you know, just send a limo to my house and pick me up, and then he'd fly me to California. But he loved Howard Rollins. God, he loved Howard, man. Howard was so...
Howard Rollins?
Yes. And he would, you know, Howard would always be late. He'd always be late. And we'd always have to wait on him. And then when he would come, Carol would just say, okay, Howard's here. And he'd go over and he'd hug him. He said, now let's go to work, you know?
Yep.
There was never any confusion, you know? He ran
right.
Yeah. It was great.
And I loved Howard too. But let me tell you a joke. My sister's going to get me for this. But, you know, when they wanted me to have a sister, and the sister's name was going to be Ruta. And so he said, Tonea, don't you have a sister? I said, I surely do. And he said, well, we want to bring her in. Let's see how she'll do for this. I said, okay. So I called my sister. She was living at home in Mississippi. And they flew her in, and she was reading for Carol and the casting director. And he said, now I want you to be real earthy. She said, oh, yeah. Oh, I know how to do that. And my sister is a character. And she's always earthy. And he said, the line is, take that way, Ruta. No, take that way, Etta. And Ruta says, take that way, Etta. Beverly said, oh, okay, I'm ready. Ready? And I said, I fed her the line. And she said, take that way, Etta. I said, no, Beverly. No. He wants you to be, you know, we're in the South. We're home folk. We're from the Delta of Mississippi. You know how we talk. And she said, oh, yeah. In her nervousness, he said, okay, let's try it again. She said, okay. She said, take that way at her. I said, Beverly, not the Southern Belle. Let's give him what he's asking for. By this time, I'm in stitches. I'm saying it. Take that way. I said, no. So we ended up getting Ruta from California. But Carol enjoyed, he took Beverly to dinner. He enjoyed her so much. He was so kind to her. But he had to make a decision. She was not going to be Ruta, being that proper. But that was the kind of patience, that was the kind of giving that he exhibited on a daily basis with us.
He did.
On that show.
The first year I was on, we did a 2-hour thing. And so the next year they put the call out for the city councilman again. And so I had to go in there, and I walked in the room, and he said, well, didn't you play the city councilman last year? And I said, yes, sir. So why are you trying to give a job to somebody else? And he said, well, I won't give your job to somebody else. It's your job. And I was
I love it. That's him.
that, you know. He was great, man. So anyway, thank you, Tonea. We're gonna get back on. We're gonna talk after this, and we'll get a date and everything. So
Yeah, I love coming back. Yes.
Everybody who wants to see her, talk to her. But Cheryl, thank you so much. It was great. I learned a lot. I'll have
Good.
I know where a thrift store is. It's right across from the post office, and I've never been in there.
Oh, you
Need to stop in there.
got to.
Thank you so much, guys. We appreciate it. It's been wonderful. It's been a lot of
Thank
fun.
you.
Thank you.
All right.
Love you, listen.
Oh, that was a lot of fun. So let me close out my closing comment, or as I see it. Closing out my Saturday morning bicycle ride this past weekend. I thought of the upcoming games for last Saturday and what, if any, of them that I would try and watch. I also thought of a friend who a few years ago moved one street over from me. And more importantly, this friend and I shared a wonderful 3 years together as football teammates. We won a lot of games together. 3 of the 4 years where we finished in the top 10 at number 5 and number 8 and number 9 in the country, we only lost 3 games over those 3 years. The year we finished number 5, we only lost 1 game. We did not lose home games, and we did not lose games we should have won. There were great memories. I had not seen him for a while, and there was a little measure of guilt because I had not stayed in touch like I thought we would. Coincidentally, as I pulled into my driveway, I got a text from my very teammate, Ken. And apparently we had both been thinking about each other. And I told him as much. Man, I've been thinking about you. And he said, I was thinking about you. So we're having lunch this week. We'll reminisce, we'll laugh, we'll talk about our old teammates, about our coaches, and the many games that we won, and the very few that we lost. We finished 10-2, 10-2, 10-2, 10-1, 9-2. In 1 year, we finished 6-6. We didn't lose home games. We didn't lose games that we were supposed to win. More importantly than all of that winning and losing, whatever, is that we're still friends this many years later. We say we're teammates for life. We genuinely like each other and enjoy each other's company. I hope the young guys who play today with the transfer portal, the NIL, and et cetera, and all that stuff, I hope they get to enjoy each other as much as we did and still do. And that's our show for today. We want to thank the audience. We appreciate you. We want to thank Lacheryl Cillie and Dr. Tonea Stewart. We want to thank our sponsor, Best Girl Inc. Thanks again to the TWT team, Barbara, Sean, Emily, Michael, and Joyce. And that's it for this September the 17th. Remember, a day without a smile is a day wasted. If you've got an extra one, give one to someone else today. Enjoy yourself. Make every day count. Stay safe. Peace.